Hey everyone, Rob here, and I got updates on the eruption situation going on in Iceland. Now, before I get to the news, just to clarify, these images and videos that you're seeing, those are from the Fagradalsfjall eruption a few years ago, as there's no eruption currently, as of right now, February 29th at 11:30 in the morning. There's no eruption going on in Iceland right now, but there's still an increased chance of a volcanic eruption in the Reykjanes Peninsula and in and around Svartsengi. And this is all stated in an announcement from the Meteorological Agency, which states that the activity has remained stable in recent days. Just taking a look at some of these nice ones. An eruption could start at very short notice, and they're saying less than 30 minutes warning. An eruption is most likely to occur in the area between Stora Skogfell and Hagafell. Magma volume under Svartsengi continues to increase, and the rate of the land rise remains fairly consistent. Now, the risk assessment does not take into account weather conditions or other factors that may affect the risk involved in being in danger zones, and it's possible for magma flow to occur without an eruption. This is all coming out of the information that they've just released. Now, model calculations show today around 8.5 to 9 million cubic meters of magma has accumulated under Svartsengi, and the speed of this has remained more or less the same for the past few days. So in general, the rate of land rise has decreased when an eruption is near. Now, according to, again, model calculations, around 500,000 cubic meters of magma accumulates under Svartsengi per day. And if we take a look at some of this, we can see here sort of the land rise and the amount that's going in there. If you look at the eve of previous volcanic eruptions, in the Sundhnúks crater series, which is what we're talking about here, the probability of an eruption increases when the volume has reached 8 to 13 million cubic meters. Now, if magma accumulation continues at the same rate, the upper limit is going to be reached next week. And we can see here a graph on what basically we're talking about right now. This graph, although all in Icelandic, let me break it down for you. The different colors represent the different, basically, times before an eruption or major seismic activity. So the purple one here in the middle, that is the major seismic activity and earthquakes that happened in November. You can see the date series up at the top here, which is from October 25th to the 10th of November. So it's a day, month, year in Europe here. So that's what the purple one is. And you can see this square box is signifying the seismic activity. The ones with stars, those are the ones that led to an eruption. And you can see here the Icelandic word eldgos is the word for basically volcanic eruption. So you can see the red one is where we're at right now. You can see this following the similar pattern as this yellow one, which is the February eruption. There's still a couple more days to go before we really match this yellow one, but you can see here the trend of December eruption is the blue, and then we go to green, and then of course yellow, and now red. You can see that the time between is getting a bit shorter before each eruption, and one of the reasons people think that this is occurring is because it's getting easier for the magma to reach the surface. So take that with what you will, but all of this is just the science that's coming out of the area. Still increased chance of a volcanic eruption in the coming days. Some people are saying within the hours. I mean, it's basically expected at any moment. Typically, all of these have erupted in the early morning, around 6 a.m., oddly enough, waiting for one that goes during the day. So it's most likely that eruptions are going to occur in a specific area. As you said, here's the risk assessment map. Now, this specific area is this red area here towards the middle. And you can see previous eruptions, or this sort of gray sort of outline of what's going on. So they're saying that the eruption is most likely going to be in this area, as it's been the past few. Now, the new risk assessment, which is what we're looking at here, this remains unchanged. And it's the same as the one that they did a couple days ago. And this is valid until Tuesday, March 5th, unless something happens like an eruption. And the likely scenarios also remain unchanged as from what it was earlier in this week. It's just kind of like same old, same old. Now, one thing that I sort of caught my eye, which I was browsing Facebook, as people do, There was a question that was asked in the Iceland Geology Facebook group. It says, I'm embarrassed to ask this, as I know it makes me seem a bit like a basic tourist, but here it goes. It said, exactly how dangerous is it to go to the Blue Lagoon in the next couple of days? And they have tickets for tomorrow. It's too late for a refund. Are they crazy to even consider going? And are tourists who are going there really putting their lives in danger? Now, that's a very valid question, and you shouldn't feel bad for asking that because you just don't know and you're not experienced with volcanic eruptions. But the number one response, with 407 likes and hearts and all this stuff, was from Sigurður Eyþórsdóttir. So it's an Icelandic woman, and she said that she cannot tell you if you're going to be cooked alive, flushed down a crack, etc. But she is a local from Grindavik, and she says that she does not know anyone who would set foot in the Blue Lagoon at this point in time and put themselves in the vulnerable position of being in the water, in your bathing suit, in the cold, having to evacuate at a moment's notice. And again, we're seeing on the news and the meteorological agency saying that you're going to have less than 30 minutes notice. The Blue Lagoon is quite big. It's going to take you a little bit more than 30 minutes to get out of there for sure. Now, she said, we the locals are united in the opinion that keeping the Blue Lagoon open is complete madness. Now remember that nobody knows where the eruption is going to be and nobody knows where the cracks are going to form. And she said, in her opinion, stay away. You can see the second comment there. I'm a local. I would never go in this situation. Seen too much to recommend. Sorry. So unanimous is that don't go because you don't know what's going to happen. With all of this being said, if we zoom in here, we can see the previous eruption blocked the exit road to the Blue Lagoon. Now they have paved over that road, or paved over the new lava in order to create access to the Blue Lagoon once again. But with all of that being said, I'm just going to open up the weather agency here so we can take a look at some of their model calculations on where things look like they're going to go. If we open this up here, they say it's a high probability, the darker purple is the high probability, it's a high probability that the lava is going to go, look at that, over the road again. But more importantly, they have some purple here going into the Blue Lagoon. Now this is what they estimate after 6 hours if the fissure is here at this black line right there. So we can see though that scientists and model calculations show lava possibly entering into the waters of the Blue Lagoon at the top here, yet the Blue Lagoon is still open, as we can see here. All facilities open. Now, Helga Arnardóttir, who is a manager of sales, operations, and services at the Blue Lagoon, she had an interview with MBL, which is one of the news agencies here in Iceland. She said, we follow the authorities at all times. As far as they are concerned at the Blue Lagoon, they're always reviewing their response plans to ensure a professional response in the event of an evacuation. Now, she said there's special measures, of course, being taken place at the company. And is it possible to close or should they be closed due to an imminent risk of a volcanic eruption? As we're seeing that scientists are saying it's any hour or day, and we have models of lava hitting the Blue Lagoon. She said that, as has been reported in the media and at the meteorological office, scientists assume that the most likely eruption will be in the Sundhnúk crater series. She does not fear that there's going to be an accident or that there will be chaos or anything like that in the event of an evacuation at the Blue Lagoon. Now, they say they're not in a fissure zone, and this fissure is about 3 kilometers away. So in light of geological situation and regular and good monitoring by the scientists, she says that they know there will be an eruption in this area, and then they're going to have plenty of time to make sure everyone gets out safe. She said, don't forget that the scientists have said the greatest danger in the area is due to lava flow. So based on professional assessment, regular contact with scientists, and the status of the Svartsengi area as such, the risk assessment is such that she can respond to all of this in a timely manner. Now, if we've taken a look, again, let's take a look at some of these videos as we're talking about this. She was asked if it was not understandable to constantly be in the position of having to evacuate the Blue Lagoon at the eruption. You know, it's every month they're evacuating. People are staying at the hotels and they have to evacuate. She said the working environment is balanced. People understand the situation, of course. And in light of that, it's been very important that the predictability and clarity from the authorities is always getting better and better. They're always learning more. Being in a good and strong conversation and cooperation with the authorities is crucial. And it's, as she said, very important to be able to have the Blue Lagoon open, is essentially what she's saying. It's important to see how well our guests have liked to be well informed, because if there's an evacuation, it will not surprise them because they know what to expect. And she said that alone is, of course, extremely important. Now, I don't know about you. I've never been in a situation where I've had warning sirens going off because of a volcanic eruption that's occurring right next to me. But with the land rise is what it is. And then, of course, we have the lava flow blocking the first road. And on top of that, we have fissure models and lava flow models that suggest lava is going to be entering the Blue Lagoon, or at least there's a likelihood of it. And that alone should be enough to close the Blue Lagoon. And even locals are saying the same thing. So it's always a hot topic on the Blue Lagoon. I, for one, am in favor of better safe than sorry. I don't know about everyone else. So let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think the locals are right? Do you think the Blue Lagoon is right? Do you think people are overreacting, saying that perhaps as we get closer to an eruption, as the land rise goes up to a point that we saw eruptions previously, that perhaps the Blue Lagoon should close at that point? Or do you think it's okay for them to wait and then evacuate as needed? But let me know in the comments. Love to hear what you have to think. And that's it for now. Stay tuned, subscribe, do all that stuff, because there's going to be a lot more to come.